Thank you for choosing our heat shrink wrap packing machine. This installation and commissioning guidance video mainly includes the following chapters: how to install the product feeding conveying system, or how to install the unpower product conveyor, how to connect film wrapping system and product feeding system, how to connect film wrapping system and heat shrinking system, how to connect heat shrinking system and cooling system, how to adjust the guardrail width of product feeding conveying system, how to adjust the product pressing plate height of film wrapping system, how to adjust the inner conveyor guardrail width of film wrapping system, how to adjust the film picking rod height of film wrapping system, how to install the shrinking film roll, how to connect the main power cable, how to start up the machine, how to make parameter setting, how to replace shrinking film roll, how to shut down the machine. If you have any questions or need further help, please contact us freely. We, professional packaging solutions provider, always at your side. This video is about how to connect the film wrapping system and product feeding conveyor. There are 3 black wires attached on the film wrapping system. One thin line is connected to the lack product sensor. The function of this sensor is to give an alarm when there is no product on the product feeding conveyor belt. These are the other 2 lines. One line is connected to the front conveyor motor and the other line is connected to the rear conveyor motor. Next, we will introduce how to connect the 2 lines and the conveyor motors. Each wire has a wire number. We need to connect the wires with different wire numbers to the corresponding interfaces of the motor. The remaining one is the ground wire, which is connected to the lower interface. Then, tighten the black fastening clip. Finally, install the motor cover back. Next, we need to install product lack sensor. We can find the sensor support on the product feeding conveying system. First, screw off the fastening screw ring on the sensor. Install the sensor onto the bracket and tighten it. The connection between the film wrapping system and the product feeding conveying system is completed. It should be noted that from the position of the film wrapping system, the first motor controls the front conveying part and the second motor controls the rear conveying part. From a distance, this one is the front conveyor, and that one is the rear conveyor. Next, we need to connect and fix the film wrapping system and product feeding conveying system with these two boards. First, screw this board to the film wrapping system. Next, move the product feeding conveyors so that these holes are aligned with the holes on the connecting plate. If the two holes are misaligned from left to right, they are aligned by moving the product conveying back and forth. If the two holes are misaligned up and down, it is necessary to adjust the product conveying height to achieve alignment. The height adjustment of product conveying system can be realized by turning the screws of 4 anchor bolts. This is what it looks like after the connecting plate is installed and fixed. On the other side of the equipment is the same structure. We need to install and fix the connecting plate in the same way. This video is about how to connect the film wrapping system and the heat shrinking tunnel. On the film wrapping system, there are 2 aviation plugs. The 2 aviation plugs are used to connect the film wrapping system and the heat shrinking tunnel. The 2 aviation plugs, one is large and the other is small. They need to be respectively inserted into the 2 sockets on the heat shrinking tunnel and fixed properly. Next, let's start with the 6-bit small aviation plug. Make sure it is in place and pull down the latch. Use the same method to install the 24-position large aviation plug. To remove it, we need to pull off the lock buckle first, and then disconnect it. The height of heating tunnel net chain shall be consistent with that of the small green belt of film wrapping system. We can put an object with a flat surface on it to see if the height of the 2 parts are same. If their heights are different, we need to adjust the height of the heating tunnel. The height adjustment of the heating tunnel can be realized by screwing the 4 anchors with a wrench. This video is about how to connect the heating tunnel and the cooling system. On the heating tunnel, there will be 2 lines connecting the cooling system. The thin black line contains a red line and a blue line. Connect them to the corresponding lines on the cooling system according to different colors. This thick black wire needs to be connected to the conveying motor of the cooling system. Its wiring method is the same as that of the product feeding conveying motor. This video is about how to adjust the guardrail width of product feeding conveying system. This battery sample is taken as an example to explain. Then we need to properly narrow the width of the guardrail. Leave some space between the product and the guardrail. If the gap is too large, the product will deviate during movement. If the gap is too small, the product will be stuck by the guardrail during conveying. Loosen the black latch first. Push the guardrail guide inward to the proper position and lock. Each guide rod shall be adjusted. In the same way, adjust the guide rod on the other side. In this video, we introduce how to adjust the product pressing plate height of the film wrapping system. Take this battery as an example. It should be noted that all products need to maintain the same direction. If the battery comes from this direction, the height of the product pressing plate shall be adjusted based on the front half of the battery. If the direction of the battery is opposite, the height of the product pressing plate shall be adjusted based on the two cylinders. Next, we will take the current direction as the benchmark to adjust the height of the product pressing plate. Move the product to the side of the pressing plate. We need to loosen the screws on both sides. Adjust the height of the product pressing plate to just press the battery. It should be noted that before adjustment, the cylinder of the product pressing plate must be extended to the lowest end. Pull out the air pipe of the product pressing cylinder, hold down and push up the product pressing plate by hand, so as to judge whether the product pressing plate is in the lowest position. Pull the product pressing plate to the lowest position again, and insert the air pipe of the product pressing cylinder. After adjusting to the appropriate height, tighten these screws again. The adjustment method on the other side is the same. The next step is to adjust the conveying guardrail width in the film wrapping system. The guardrail width also needs to be adjusted according to the width of the product. Specific adjustment method is the same as that of the product feeding conveying guardrail. The difference is that the position of locking the guardrail support is on the right. Put the product to be packaged on the large green belt and see the distance between the top of the product and the film picking rod. Adjust the height of the film picking rod. Open the chain guards covers on both sides. Loosen the set screw of the tensioning shaft. Adjust the height adjusting screw rod so that the distance between the top of the product and the film picking rod is between 2 and 3 fingers. Lock the screws of the tensioning shafts on both sides. Close the chain guard. This section introduces how to install the shrink film roll. Lift the film expansion assembly. Install a new shrink film roll. Adjust the position of the roll. Tighten the film expanding shaft with an air gun. Don't make mistakes in the film passing path. Select manual operation on the display screen and press point move film feeding. Lower the film expansion assembly. Select manual operation on the display screen and press film cutting and feeding. Press single film feeding when the film feeding is normal. Cut 2 to 3 sheets. Check and confirm that the film is normal without wrinkles. This video shows how to connect the device to the main power cable. There is a threading hole at this position of the heat tunnel electric cabinet. The main power cable passes through this hole into the electric cabinet. There are several connection ports for connecting the main power cable. The main power line required by this equipment is 3-phase 5-wire. The first 3 interfaces are connected with live wires. The interface with code N is connected to the null line. The remaining wire is the ground wire. The ground wire can be connected to this interface of the electric cabinet. This video introduces the startup steps of the device. Turn on the main switch first. This row of small switches are also turned on in turn. Turn on the key switch. Lift and lock the expansion membrane assembly. If the alarm message indicates that the connection is interrupted, check whether the rear wiring is loose. Press 0 setting. If the alarm message indicates that the air pressure is too low, it is necessary to check the air pipe connection or whether the air supply is normal. This video mainly introduces the settings of some main parameters. Every interface of our software system can be switched between Chinese and English. Spindle position adjustment. Click point moving spindle to move the spindle to this position. Press main spindle to 0 to reset the main spindle. This interface is a parameter setting item for different packaging combinations based on different products. Bottling refers to product pressing plate start pressing the product and it cannot pass through. The end of the bottle means product pressing plate stop pressing the product and it can pass through it. The following section describes how to adjust the film picking torque. The following steps describe how to set product information parameters in the software. The following section describes how to set software parameters for color film. The following section describes how to set the temperature of the heat shrinking furnace. This video shows how to replace a new film roll. Install a new roll and tighten it. Do not cross the wrong path of the membrane. The upper and lower membranes are aligned. Press the film knife for about 5 seconds. Rotate the film expanding shaft to wind the excess shrink film onto the film expanding shaft. Lower the expanding film assembly. Select manual operation on the display screen and press film cutting and feeding. Press single film feeding when the film feeding is normal. Cut 2 to 3 sheets. Check and confirm that the film is normal without wrinkles. This video describes how to shut down normally. Turn off bottle grouping and wait until all the product finished. After all products finished, press stop button. Press off heating. When the temperature of the heat shrinkable furnace drops below 120 degrees Celsius, press this button and turn off the key switch. Turn off the main switch in the electric control cabinet of the furnace.